Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Wherever you are joining us from, you are most welcome. We are very pleased and delighted to be sharing this morning and this time with you today. This webinar is brought to you today by FNB and RMB, and we will be talking about effortless e-commerce solutions for your business success. I would like you to take a moment before we get started just to remove any distractions that you might have and just really commit the next 2 hours to focusing on this webinar today. My name is Sergio de Souza. I'm the Head of Data and Digital Transformation at FNB Namibia, and I will be facilitating today's session. Today you will be hearing about the evolution of e-commerce and its history. You will be learning about factors to consider when setting up e-commerce. You will also be hearing about solutions that are available to you today that can help you on your e-commerce journey. So with that, and hopefully removing any distractions that you have around you, we believe that you'll also hear about many questions or considerations that you've had about e-commerce that will be answered today. So please do make the most of this opportunity. And before we get started with the formal agenda for today, we would like to hand over to Seppo Hayambo, our Executive Officer for FNB Commercial Banking, who will just be giving us the outline for today's program. Over to you, Seppo.
Welcome to the FNB Namibia virtual launch of our e-commerce solution. Throughout human history, the exchange of goods and services have played a critical role in innovation. Buy and sell agreements are an important part of running a business, as without instruments to seamlessly settle these agreements, businesses could face a world of financial issues. The importance of settling these agreements has driven the evolution over the ages, from the initial barter systems to today's monetary modes of exchange. E-commerce represents this continued evolution. It was in that vein that First National Bank Namibia introduced an e-commerce payment solution in 2019. Given the global increased interest in making purchases on demand, increased internet connectivity, and mobile smartphone capabilities, e-commerce has been growing in significance even in Namibia. The interest in e-commerce payment solutions has also been increasing more in the last 2 years due to the movement restrictions brought about by the COVID-19 lockdown measures. A second contributing factor in our local market has been the Namibian participation in the African Free Trade Continental Agreement that has given Namibian businesses and will give Namibian businesses access to new markets on the African continent. This will support Namibian companies to have a larger potential market to sell their products and services, and therefore punctuates the need for a receipt payment solution enabled by e-commerce. FNB as a commercial bank is continuously working to innovate solutions for the benefit of the clients we serve, and believe that our e-commerce solutions will greatly support both business-to-customer and business-to-business models. Namibia is a strong candidate for the successful uptake of e-commerce channels given its superior infrastructure, as evidenced by a road network of over 6,000 kilometers and a rail network of 2,687 kilometers. With those words, I invite you, colleagues, to enjoy the webinar and look forward to having in-depth conversations on how FNB can help you. Thank you so much, Sergio. Back to you.
Thank you for that lovely introduction for today's program, Seppo. Just as we go along with the rest of our presenters, and we have a great lineup of speakers with a lot of experience and knowledge in the area of e-commerce today, if you have any questions that you'd like to pose, that you would like us to help you answer, please feel free to post it now. We will answer all the questions at the end of the official program today, so please feel free. We would love to hear from you any thoughts, insights, or questions that you would have today. With that, I would like to hand over to our next excellent speaker, Marlon Jose, who is the Business Development Head for FNB Merchant Services, joining us all the way from South Africa. Over to you, Marlon.
Thank you so much, Sergio. Welcome to everybody who has joined us on this call on the evolution of e-commerce and how it applies to you in your Namibian context. My name is Marlon Jose, and I am your Merchant Services Specialist in South Africa. I wanted to talk to you about the evolution of e-commerce, not just globally, but also how it relates to us on the continent of Africa and specifically to us in Namibia. Now, For those of you who might be my age or older, 1991 seems like the other day. But it is, in fact, 30 years ago when the internet was first created. We have come a long way in 30 years, with Pizza Hut 3 years later, who were the first retailers to create the first online ordering platform on their website. And since then, Amazon made their first sale, and within a decade, online sales surpassed $1 trillion. Now, of course, many things helped to accelerate the evolution of e-commerce, such as PayPal, eBay. Of course, we spoke about Amazon, streaming platforms like iTunes and Spotify, and of course, social media. Where are we today in terms of e-commerce? Globally, there are over 800,000 online stores. And retail e-commerce sales are predicted to reach $4.1 trillion by the end of this year. In the United States, almost 80% of adults have already made an online purchase. And of course, this has now been accelerated with the COVID-19 pandemic globally. Mobile commerce, which is your m-commerce or the use of e-commerce through your smartphone, has also seen an unexpected rise. The use of smartphones and the likelihood of more and more cheaper Chinese Android phones entering our market have made mobile commerce very attractive and very accessible to most consumers. In fact, mobile commerce is expected to reach 73% of the e-commerce market by the end of this year. Now, you might be wondering, what are all of these consumers buying online? The number one item or items purchased online seem to be computers and electronics. It makes sense when you think about the amount of research that goes into purchasing a computer or a printer or a mobile device. The other is obviously clothing, and then followed by, interestingly, car parts and car accessories. This, in fact, by value, is one of the largest segments of the market that has taken e-commerce by storm. The other thing that we are seeing as a large trend in the e-commerce market is, of course, social media platforms. Now, if you as a business in Namibia are not present on Google, or Instagram, or Facebook, or on the largest growing social media platform known as TikTok, I suggest that you have a meeting with your marketing manager and change that very soon. Social media is here and it's here to stay and grow. Most millennials, Gen Zs, and certainly the younger generation are doing most of their consumer research on these social media platforms. And that is where they are choosing to buy as well. So that is really where you need to be spending some of your marketing spend. Now, you might wonder why you should be going online. Of course, there is a massive cost reduction to you. Rentals have skyrocketed. Maintenance costs of your stores are definitely not getting cheaper. And if you think about online advertising, it's about 25% cheaper than the cost of your traditional marketing channels. Of course, the other real-time feedback from your customers is a massive plus. You can get real-time reviews of your products, and you have an opportunity to interact with the pulse of the customer. Being online also means that you can have a faster response to market or your buyer demands. Every interaction is faster when you sell online, and you can track what is selling fast, what consumers are searching for on your website, and you can also see what are they leaving behind on their shopping trolleys. If you have several payment methods activated on your online platform, you are now able to accept cash on delivery, card on delivery, EFT payments, as well as pay later or layaways on your payment gateway. The other things that you can do from a marketing perspective is also to drive consumers to your online stores is offer some specials online. This can be to help you with alleviating in-store shopping fluctuations, or to help you with spreading some of your shoppers across the month. And of course, you have access to a much wider shopping audience without having to do the brick and mortar expansion. You could be in Windhoek and reach the whole of Namibia now through your online platform. The top e-commerce markets globally, as you can see, is of course China, followed by the United States. And while Middle East and Africa is still a small portion of the e-commerce market, we are definitely growing. And I will tell you why I think Africa is now ripe for e-commerce. The industry is certainly growing. There are a number of large local and international players. If we look at our countries, our neighboring country, like South Africa, they have had a phenomenal growth with retailers such as Takealot, Zando, Superbalist, Checkers 6060, the Pick and Pay Bottles app, to name a few. This phenomenon has been growing at over 30% year on year, and COVID-19 has actually seen an almost 40% increase in e-commerce in South Africa. This is also now globally is seen to be a new opportunity for consumers as well as for new market entrants to come in. Amazon, as you know, have also entered the South African market and are also looking to expand their reach onto the continent. Nigeria, interestingly, is actually set to overtake South Africa's e-commerce market in a few years, given that they have been accelerated with the government's support in increasing their broadband internet coverage in the continent and in the country. Kenya is another country on the continent that have done very, very well on the e-commerce platform with a marketplace called Jumia, which has over 100 online destinations since its launch. Let's talk about Namibia, and let's bring it closer to home. Namibia has actually seen a 45% year-on-year growth in terms of e-commerce, bringing it to $147 million US dollar revenue in 2020. It is now projected on an annual growth rate of over 18%, and by 2024 is expected to reach market volumes of $286 US dollars. This is certainly a space we need to be playing in. Once again, the largest segment in Namibia online is electronics and media. If you look at our users, while 1.3 million internet users doesn't seem like a lot, it is also projected that this number will double by 2024. So, of course, the question you're all asking yourselves is Namibia ready for e-commerce? Now, readiness for e-commerce depends on two things. One is the quality and price of internet infrastructure across the country, and two is the quality of transport connectivity across the country. Like I mentioned earlier, we have 1.3 million internet users, but like I said, this is projected to grow to double digits in the next few years. 2.94 million users actually have mobile phones, and this is because most people in Namibia have multiple SIM cards to take advantage of the data packages across competitive telcos. Smartphone penetration, while at 28%, is also expected to grow, and the work from home scenarios due to COVID lockdowns are also starting to see an increase in the shift of internet usage through laptops. The road and postal infrastructure in Namibia, while it might not be ideal as we venture into the more rural areas, is certainly very good across all our major towns and cities. We also have 144 NAM post offices across the breadth and width of the nation. And as some of you know, a number of excellent logistics companies who specialize in the transporting of goods across the Namibian landscape, many of whom we have invited to join us today. Let's look at some Namibian-specific e-commerce trends. There are a total of approximately 1.4 million cards in Namibia. Now, while e-wallet and many mobile networks are providing wallet type of transactions, the majority of e-commerce payment gateways still accept bank cards as their preferred payment method. We are, of course, going to expand this to include e-wallet, but for now, this is really the reality of where we are. There is approximately a 44 billion Namibian dollars spent domestically, of which 800 million was spent online. Now, you have to ask yourself, where are our consumers spending their Namibian dollars online? The fastest growing market has definitely been, and very relieved to see, is the airline space. Airlines and travel and tourism have been severely impacted by COVID-19, and it is great and reassuring to see this kind of resurgence back into the airline space, which we hopefully will also mean that consumers and more tourists will also come into our market. The other phenomenon has been quick service restaurants, which means if you have a typical restaurant business, if you have changed that model into a takeaway with a delivery option, this is also where we're starting to see phenomenal growth. Linked to airlines has also been the growth in car rentals. As I mentioned before, electronics have always done very well and continues to show the numbers. If we look at what the biggest ticket items have been on the e-commerce space in Namibia, the largest one is actually automotive. As I mentioned, car parts and car accessories by ticket value are definitely the leader of the pack here. This is then followed by your home improvement or building logistics supply. I think it's no-brainer to understand why someone would want to sit in the comfort of their home and buy bags of cement or bricks or whatever it is that they would like to do in terms of DIY. Of course, the online delivery component also plays a big role here. This is also followed by travel services and wholesale, clubs being the likes of Alibaba, AliExpress, Macro, etc. And so, of course, this brings me to my final question. Where are you playing in this fast-growing market in Namibia? Thank you, and I will hand over to Sergio now.
Thank you for that very insightful presentation, Marlon. I think it is such an encouragement for me personally to see that even in the times that we have and the way we've been hit, our economy has been hit by COVID, that there are still signs of growth and showing that e-commerce is one of those places that has great potential for our country, our economy, and our businesses. With that, I would like to introduce our next speaker, Herman Krier, the Head of Merchant Services and Fleet for FnB Namibia, who will be talking to us about factors that we should consider when taking our businesses to this e-commerce platform. Thank you, Herman.
Thank you, Sergio. My name is Herman Krier. I'm the Head of Merchant Services and Fleet at First National Bank, and I am glad that I can take you further on this journey with regards to FnB E-Commerce. I'm pretty sure that everybody will agree with me that in these current times that we are living, that change is potentially the only constant. And this pandemic have actually forced us to challenge the old ways and also to look at new ways in which we are going to do things. Purchases over the counter, as we see there in the left-hand corner, is potentially going to be altered in a couple of weeks, months, a year, potentially from now. And the orders of online purchases is most probably going to be on the increase. Now, people do not need to despair. Even in this pandemic, the old saying is that we should never waste a good crisis. There are opportunities that are presenting themselves. If we think of this specific environment of e-commerce, there's a whole lot of new opportunities that are being created. If we think of web designs, distribution, warehousing, all different things that can help and assist to turn that sales curve, which is currently on a decline, up into a positive once again, as we would like business to grow. From an FnB perspective, what is FnB e-commerce? Marlon already indicated what e-commerce are in general, and we would like to introduce FnB e-commerce to our merchants. As mentioned before, it's an excellent additional avenue for merchants to be able to continue selling their goods. You would be able to continue growing your sales, and most importantly, it also creates a total new platform where you can create, maintain new customer relationships as well as increase your sales revenue. This can be done from multiple platforms, whether it be a web, and even today we see on a daily basis applications on smartphones coming to the fore that can be used as a basis to facilitate e-commerce from. Now, in the F&B space, we have a fully secured environment in which we present e-commerce. Technically, it's known as 3D secure, and that basically means that both from a merchant perspective as well as the purchaser, the cardholder perspective, the process is safe because the cardholder will authenticate him or herself when they are doing online purchases, making sure that the liability moves away from you as merchant, also away from us as acquirer or bank, due to the fact that that cardholder authenticated through a third medium that it is actually them that is doing the transaction. And that reduces the possibilities of fraud to a great scale. If we think of the different components that you have on e-commerce, obviously there are a few very critical factors that need to be taken into consideration. First of all is your relationship with F&B as bank, your merchant account that you need to have. We have payments components there where you will engage with a payments facilitator, and we will get a little bit later more into that specific detail. Obviously you need to have your site for people to be able to go into, look at your goods or services. There are the web hosting services that we need to look at, and then most importantly, the security features that we need to look at. From an F&B e-commerce perspective, you will create through your web designer your web page where you will have a basket that you will create for checkout. Your client wanting to do purchases will go onto your website and they will place their orders into that checkout trolley, as we can see there in the left-hand corner. And once they have finalized what they want to purchase, the system will go over into a secure environment where payments can be facilitated, and I will cover that a little bit later. What is extremely important for you as merchant is to ensure that whatever you display on your website or on your application in terms of goods, that your inventory is actually up to date. It serves no purpose if the items are on display and you are unable to fulfill those sales due to the fact that you do not have sufficient stock. And that would be detrimental not only to you as merchant, but also to the cardholder. They will lose their trust in this very exciting way of doing business. There are various steps in that shopping cart or in that trolley. As I've mentioned, a person will look at your website, look at the goods and services they need to, or they want to purchase from you. They need to process their own details, where those goods need to be distributed to, and then there at the second last component, you have that payments function where they need to go into for a secure payment, making use of their cards, and then in the end, obviously, the finalization of that sale. Now, in this equation, we have a very important role player, and F&B is grateful to have DPO as a trusted partner in this specific equation. From the cardholder's perspective, he will still be in your website or on your platform, but in the background, they would have moved over to a very secure environment to make sure that that cardholder detail is actually protected. We all appreciate that card numbers can be sold on the black market. It can perpetrate fraud, and each one of us from a bank perspective as acquirer, you as the merchant, as well as the cardholder and the payments services provider. We need to ensure that this environment is safe and that people can transact on this without any challenges or the fear that the card detail might be compromised and that they might be the victims of fraud. From a merchant perspective, your environment as well, you would also want to have a secure mechanism in terms of the funds that are processed to you for sales that you have done, that you have no risk of subsequent chargebacks, etc. So this process facilitates the exciting journey that we can go on using our technologies that's available to us, driven by the negative impacts of COVID, social distancing, etc., where people are reluctant to go to the store, go and buy over the counter. You do not necessarily need to lose sales from that perspective. You can continue with your business, albeit slightly different. At that point, I would like to hand back to Sergio to take us through specifically the payment services provider. Thank you.
Thank you, Herman, for sharing your thoughts with us this morning and making us realize that e-commerce doesn't have to be this complicated and unsecure, risky animal, but it can actually be something that helps us with the security of our businesses and protecting our customers. Our next speaker I would love to introduce, and very privileged to introduce, is Mr. Simba Huni from the DPO Group, who will be talking to us about the various e-commerce solutions that they have available to help your business. Over to you, Simba.
Thank you very much, Sergio. And I want to express our gratitude to the F&B team, the RMB team, for inviting us to partner with them to lead discussions around the adoption and the consumption and the growth of e-commerce within the Namibia market. As what my colleagues have already alluded to, my name is Simba Huni. I'm coming from the DPO Group. We are Africa's leading payment service provider. And why do I say that? Because we have operations in over 20 countries across the African continent, over 100,000 businesses across diverse industries have trusted us with their payment solutions. We have over 15 years of experience in the payments industry. And some of the local businesses that support, that trust the DPO platform with their payments needs include MultiChoice Namibia. You can download the My DSTV app today, pay your subscriptions online and be activated immediately. We have seen businesses like MTC jumping onto the e-commerce platform. Now you can download the My MTC app, you can pay your airtime, you can pay for your bills, you can transfer airtime to your relatives and friends. If you have ever bought a ticket using West Air Aviation, chances are 99 in 100, if you buy it online, 99.99% that you are using the DPO solution. We have businesses like Simot, DHL, Tambula, Namibia, Gondwana Collection. We have Taxi Connect. International brands such as takealot.com, such as Uber, Dibonias Pizza, and Steez are some of the brands that have trusted us with their payments needs. So you can see the diversity of the businesses that we serve across the African continent, as well as across the Namibian marketplace. Now, I'll give you an overview of what we have experienced so far with regards to the Namibian market. The growth in e-commerce has been slow, but gradual. And there are many reasons to that. And part of the reason to that is the fact that there are many players that constitute a full e-commerce value chain. It is not only banking partners like F&B and RMB and payment service providers like the DPO Group, but there are couriers, there are delivery businesses that also make up part of the value chain. And I believe it is through the collaborative effort of all the players that make up the e-commerce value chain that would drive the growth, the adoption, and the consumption of e-commerce in any given market. Some of the growth that we have seen between 2020 and 2021, and generally across the Namibian market, can be attributed to growth in internet penetration innovation. So we have seen 1.8% of growth between 2020 and 2021. We have also seen growth in social media usage as more people can afford a smartphone. We have also seen that COVID-19 pandemic has contributed significantly to the growth in e-commerce, primarily because both consumers and retailers and businesses are looking for alternative ways to sell their products or to buy products online. Now, DPO, as a group, we exist to help you optimize your revenue collection. We exist to save you time, to save you money, to save you resources. We believe that it is your responsibility as the CEO of your company to worry about products that are customer-centric, products that will sell to the market. But we believe that it should not be your headache to worry about how you get paid. That is why we have solutions and systems and partnerships with banking institutions such as FNB to make sure that we help you by providing solutions to get you paid. We'll deliver to you also trusted solutions that are easy to use that will protect your business. How do we do that? We enable our customer-to-business transactions. So you are a business and you want to collect payments, regardless of the industry that you are in, the DPO platform will enable your customers to pay you at the click of a button. How do we do that? Number one, our solutions enable you to collect money or to collect payments directly from your website. We do website integration if you have an existing website. If you are a hotelier and you have got an existing integration into either Knightsbridge, Booking.com, or any other platform, we can do a direct integration into your website to enable a seamless flow of a transaction from booking all the way to payment. Number two, we have got email and SMS payment solutions that enable you to just send a WhatsApp message to any one of your customers and enable them to pay. You can collect the payment now or you can collect the payment later. We have done integrations into WhatsApp. We have done integrations into SMS platforms that enable customers to pay your business. It's as easy as ABC. We do have call center solutions that we call the DPO Lite portal that enable your business to collect payments on a phone call. Any one of your customers can call your business or your call center to make an inquiry about a certain product, and you can conclude a sale immediately and collect a payment, and that payment is confirmed immediately. We enable you to collect virtual cards. We have SDK technology that enables in-app payments for those of you that want integration into mobile apps. I know that mobile apps are the in thing right now. For those of you that want to collect payments via mobile apps, we do have solutions that enable you to collect card payments, to collect mobile money payments via mobile app. So the DPO solution, through our partnerships with banks such as FNB, we process all forms of payments. We accept cards, we accept mobile money, we accept bank transfers, we accept wallets in some markets. Our solutions are multi-currency. That means you can charge in any currency. And I'm speaking specifically to those of you that are in the export industry. So you might be exporting a service, you might be exporting an actual product. You have the ability to charge in any desirable currency. And on our DPO platform, we have what we call the dynamic currency converter that enables your customer to see the actual amount that they're going to pay in their default currency, even if you charge them in the Namibia dollar. So your customers choose how to pay and their preferred currency. Now, I believe that most of you are probably asking, how is all of this possible? We have plug-and-play solutions for the smaller businesses. So if you are using some of the familiar shopping carts that we have, your Gravity Forms, your Equid, your WooCommerce, your Magento, we have plug-and-play solutions. We have plugins for those solutions. If you are investing in your own bespoke solution that requires its own complex integration, we have DIY developer APIs that come standard with developer guidelines. We do system support, we do sandbox testing, we also do SDK technology. If you are a business in the tourism sector and you are using any one of the renowned booking engines and channel managers, we have integrations into AeroCRIS for aviation, Booking.com, Nicebridge, Easy OTA, Res Request, Room Raccoon, just to mention but a few. And the idea is to make sure that we do not turn any business away. The idea is to ensure that any business that intends to receive and to collect payments online, as long as you are within the Namibia borders, you have the ability to collect payments online through the DPO solution and through our partnerships with banking institutions such as FNB. What we are giving to our customers is a fully managed solution that comes with one platform. So you want your reporting, you've got your reporting on one platform. You want a multi-currency platform, you have a multi-currency platform on your tablet or on your cell phone. You want a cloud-based system that is scalable, you have a cloud-based system that is scalable. It means on a business trip outside of Namibia, you want to check the progress of your e-commerce shop, you can actually log on because our system is cloud-based and it has a dedicated report center that enables your finance team to do the reconciliations, to do refunds, to process refunds, and to pull out any ad hoc report or any periodic report that you want. Number one. Number two, it is our commitment to offer you a system that is secure, a system that is safe, a system that prevents your business from fraud, a system that profiles risk, a system that ensures that all transactions that are happening and are being vetted and screened in real time. So the DPO solution is a platform that ensures that all transactions that are happening on our platform are screened and vetted in real time. And we check against parameters such as the sufficiency of funds, whether the account is sufficiently funded. We have gone on to ensure that transactions are 3D Secure compliant. And for those of you that are not familiar with 3D Secure, before a transaction is processed, it has to be verified by a one-time PIN that is generated from your bank. So these are some of the mechanisms that I'll talk about on how we ensure that your business is safe. Now, you're dealing with an organization that complies with global standards. We are PCI DSS level 1, and my banking partners will tell you that this is the highest level of compliance in terms of the card industry. So it means our systems have been tested, all angles have been checked, and they have passed all the tests, all the stress tests, they have passed and are compliant. That's why we have the highest level of certification that exists in our industry. We are Gdpr compliant, which is a standard that, that governs how we treat European issued cards. We have anti-money laundering policies in place. We comply with United Nations sanctions. We comply with OFAC. We comply with HMT. And anybody that is on those lists, we do not serve and we do not do business with. Now, turning on to one of the solutions that we have that we are offering to businesses across Namibia. Let's suppose you do have a business and your business has, to some extent, an online presence, but your business does not have a store. And you want to be able to sell your products online, but you do not want to carry the heavy burden of, paying developers to develop a store, paying huge fees that are associated with WooCommerce, that are associated with Magento, that are associated with some of these popular shopping carts. The DPO store comes in handy. And what is the DPO store? The DPO store is a free e-commerce website that we are giving to businesses that want to try out selling their products online. So this is a store that comes to you at no cost. It is fast. You go live in between 48 and 72 hours, and you can actually sell your products. If you do have products that you want to sell online, and you do not want to shoulder the budget of having to pay huge costs associated with websites, then the DPO store is one such platform that we're offering to businesses, not just in Namibia, but across the African continent, that enables you to sell your products online. It is friendly, it is easy, it is contact-free, it is secure, and it gives a secure shopping environment to your customers. It is also cost-effective, primarily because it has got built-in payments platform that accepts all cards, that accept mobile money, that accept all the other wallets that I have been talking about. I believe the question is now how. How do you get your business online? First and foremost, all that you need to do is just to contact our business partners, our banking partners, FNB, or you can contact us directly, and we can begin the onboarding process. We have a very simple onboarding process that just simply requires your certificate of incorporation, that requires the director's IDs, that requires your full product list, the descriptions and the pricing. And when you give us such documentation, we will go and then create the website for you, and we'll load your products, we'll load your contact us details, you load the about us section, we'll load everything for you and deliver to you a fully functional, secure website that reaches out to all your customers. It's as easy as adding shipping and delivery terms, with a very secure checkout and pay page. It's safe, it's secure. As I said earlier on, it accepts all forms of payments, primarily because of our integration into Visa, into MasterCard, into leading wallets across the Southern Africa region and across the African continent. It has a very easy shopping cart with a checkout page that is safe and secure. And on top of that, we have real-time fraud prevention. So if anybody comes onto your platform and they are attempting to use a fraudulent card, a blocked card, our system is able to pick that immediately and notify you that there is an attempt on your website. Do not issue a service. All right. So we have quite a number of businesses that have jumped onto the DPO store. A few examples that I can give to you that we've done integration with for the DPO Lite portal. We have KFC Botswana, and currently in engagements with the KFC group. We have Taskies in Nairobi, Kenya. We have quite a number of businesses that are using the DPO store. Like I said, this is a free e-commerce platform for your business that enables you to take your business online immediately, and you get paid, and it expands your reach across the Namibian market, across the African continent, at no cost to you. The only cost that is applicable is the transaction fee that we charge per transaction. But all of that information will be disclosed to you before you come online. Lastly, I want to talk about fraud prevention and risk management, because it is one of the key foundations of any payment service provider, fraud prevention. And I believe that most businesses are very much concerned about fraud prevention and risk management. I mentioned earlier on that our system has been tested and we passed all the PCI tests. We are PCI DSS level 1 compliant, which is the highest level of compliance in the card industry. And how do we check? We have algorithms in place. We have got people and teams in place whose main responsibility is to check every transaction as it happens in real time. Number one. So if our system picks up an irregularity on a transaction, and I'll give you an example. Let's suppose somebody is in Namibia and they want to buy a product, and they use a Namibian address, they use everything Namibian, then they use a card whose bin was issued somewhere in Canada. Because of that discrepancy, our system is able to detect the difference between the bin, where the bin was issued, and the physical location of that person. And a real-time alert is then generated and sent to your inbox to verify whether there has been any communication between yourself and the customer. So these are some of the mechanisms that we have in place to make sure that your business is safe and the DPO system itself is safe from being tampered with. And this is the reason why you will find that some of the major airlines across the African continent trust us with their payments needs. Some of the businesses in West Africa, which unfortunately is the hotspot for card fraud, trust the DPO solution with their payments needs because we have systems in place that prevent fraud from happening on your platform. So we have real-time blacklist and blocking capabilities. We have real-time verification of all payments. We have scoring parameters. In terms of risk management, we have behind-the-scenes research and analysis. We can analyze patterns that are emerging patterns within the card industry, emerging fraud trends that are emerging within the card industry, and protect our businesses. We protect our consumers from falling prey to card fraudsters. We search, we identify, we learn new fraud patterns, we set the tune and fraud prevention systems. Like I said, we do have both systems in place. We do have people in place to make sure that your business is safe. And one of the things that we have introduced within the Namibian market in compliance to regulations from our partners, from our card schemes, Visa and MasterCard, is 3D Secure. We can fully enable 3D Secure on your platform to protect your business, such that any transaction that before it is approved, it has to be authenticated by a one-time PIN. So if you want to learn more about how 3D Secure authentication works, you can get in touch with our FNB partners and they will tell you how 3D Secure works and how 3D Secure is able to protect your business from fraudsters and from any potential fraudulent activity. Thank you very much. I now come to the end of my presentation. I will hand you over back to Sergio. Thank you very much. Back to you, Sergio.
Thank you, Simba, for that discussion and that presentation. Even though I work in the technology sphere, I'm always excited to see the various solutions and innovations that people can come with to make business easier than what it is. So with that, ladies and gentlemen that are joining us today, we are soon coming to the end of our formal program before we move on to the questions and answers section of the program. With that, I would like to hand over to Philip Chapman, the CEO of RMB in Namibia, who will be giving us the closing address for today's program. Thank you, Philip.
Thank you, Sergio. And thank you to everyone who joined us today. It's been our privilege to share a little bit more around the e-commerce platform with you as our customers. We certainly value the time that we've had together today, and we hope it brings some new insights to you and your business. As you've heard, the payment rails have changed quite a bit over the past few years, and we've moved from cash payments to card payments and digital payments very rapidly over the past few years. You would have seen that likewise, FNB and RMB have evolved the banking business as well, moving onto platform, bringing a lot of our business into the digital space, as opposed to the previous brick and mortar model that was used by banks. In the same vein, e-commerce would offer the opportunity to you to also bring your business into the new digital age and to really create payment options that is fast and flexible, that's convenient for the customers or for your customers, it's safe and secure, and lastly, it comes at a reduced cost to the customers. And if you think about the benefits of e-commerce, you would agree with me that e-commerce really enables you to take your business globally and to become a global player. It is no longer tied to just your local community or the local market, but digital payments enable you to reach into different countries, different continents, and certainly different spheres of business. we are grateful to have had this opportunity, and we really want to encourage you to reach out to the F&B and RMB teams, specifically Elzaan and Ternay, whose names you will see on the screen, and ask them how they can help you build your business and digitally enable your business with an e-commerce solution to take you into the future. We certainly hope you enjoyed the session with us, and feel free to join us for the live Q&A session hereafter. Thank you.
Philip, thank you so much for that closing address. I believe there's been a lot of information that the ladies and gentlemen on the call today have received, but we believe there's a lot that you would like to also ask. So you've heard from us. We would like to hear from you. We've got our live panelists today. Most of them have already been introduced. There's one additional person I'd like to introduce that's joining us on the panel today, and that's Malcolm Fraser. He's the head of corporate banking at RMB to help and facilitate the answering of any questions that you might have today with us. So with that, I'm going to go straight to our channels to see the questions that are coming through. The first one is from Joseph. Joseph would like to know, what is the benefit of e-commerce to my business? I will hand that over to Malcolm.
Thanks, Sergio, and thanks, Joseph. Without knowing what business you are in, and so it's difficult to contextualize that. I would almost imagine that e-commerce you could use in a service environment where you are purely just delivering a service and not selling commercial goods, like in a retail space or in a fast food chain. So typically, I think it reaches a market audience that is maybe not reachable to a brick and mortar facility, who can shop at extended hours, and where you can, as I think Marlon mentioned earlier in a presentation as well, where you can start gathering data of your client behavior, and that data use in your marketing strategy on how you want to build your business. So I'd love to answer some more details of that question, but as I said, I think it's really important for us to also understand what business you are in.
Thank you, Malcolm. The next question I'll give over to Herman. This question comes from Gabby Ernie, who's asking, how can we apply for e-commerce, and does the business account need to be with FNB?
Thank you very much, Gabby. Let's answer the last question first. Yes, specifically from a risk perspective, it's very important that that merchant relationship, as I've mentioned also in my presentation, need to be with FNB. And you have seen the names of both Renee as well as Elzaan that were displayed on the screen. You can just get into contact with them, and they will set you up for the necessary application through FNB for the merchant agreement, and then also line you up with Simba for the DPO payments component that will follow on that application.
Thank you, Herman. Simba, the next question I'm going to hand over to you. This is from Klaus. Klaus is asking, can e-commerce work on social media platforms like Facebook?
Thank you for that question. Yes, we do have quite a number of facets to our system that can work. So I talked about web integration, I talked about the DPO store, I talked about the DPO Lite portal. But an additional feature that we have is we have an embedded link that can be embedded onto your social media platforms. Whether you are on Facebook, you want to use Instagram, that enables you to collect payments directly from your customers. Yeah, that's a very important question, and the answer to that is yes.
Thank you, Simba. Marlon, I would like to hand over the next question to you. This question is coming from Albert, who is asking, how can I use this platform when emailing out invoices to my customers? How can I use this platform when emailing out invoices to my customers?
Thank you for that question. Thank you, Sergio. And Albert, what we can do is we can offer you a solution where you can send a secure payment link via your emailing system. You can also use it on your WhatsApp. You can use it when you take a telephone call and you want to take payments directly from your clients online as well. So yes, we have a DPO Lite solution where we can send secure payment links via email, WhatsApp, social media, etc.
Thank you for that, Marlon. Sorry, would you like to add something else?
I said, I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Marlon. The next question, Simba, I will hand over to you. Devon is asking, if this will work with his mobile store applications as well.
Yes, I have mentioned that earlier in my integration, in my presentation, that we can do app integration. We have SDK technology that allows in-app payments within the DPO solution. So we can get you in touch with our development team to enable you to read through the APIs and enable you to do that mobile app integration. Yes.
Thank you for that, Simba. Thank you for the questions coming through. Please feel free to continue posting as we continue to answer the questions. The next question I will hand over to Herman. Jonas Epenge is asking, I'm a vendor at the Onboarding trade fair and would like to know how this can help me in selling my goods.
Thank you very much, Jonas. Very familiar with the Onboarding trade fair, been involved with it myself for many years, some time back. And a lot of display happens at the Onboarding trade fair, and that is where people actually see what you do have to offer. And in our normal traditions, a lot of people do not necessarily buy at the time. They might consider to buy later on. Obviously, if you have e-commerce, it extends the ability to purchase beyond the Onboarding trade fair. And if you have either your web application or even an application itself on a smartphone, etc., where your goods and services are displayed, that potential buyer, subsequent to the event, can actually continue to support you and do make use of your services or goods. So you will be able to extend your sales far beyond that 1 week of Onboarding trade fair period. That is customary the case.
Thank you for that, Herman. So e-commerce can help beyond just the trade fair. It can help there, but it's something that can help sustain your business in the long run as well.
100%.
Malcolm, the next question I would like to hand over to you. Michael is asking, what are the fees for using e-commerce and how cost effective is it really?
Okay, Michael, I'm not going to answer you on what are the fees. Maybe try and explain to you that when we assess the pricing of a particular client, we will try and understand what is the volumes, what is the type of transactions we'll go through there, because a part of that pricing is risk-based from the bank. In this e-commerce conversation, if you make use of the DPO partnership as well, there would be also a DPO cost or invoice that you need to consider. So the e-commerce transaction, in my mind, would be very similar to your point of sale in your shop or in the brick and mortar. With the benefit is that you do not have to pick up a device rental fee. Now, depending on your size of your business, the device rental fee as a percentage of the total could be quite substantial. You know, if you, as an example, have a very small business that only transacts, say, for argument's sake, $5,000, a $400 rental fee for that device could be quite high. So that immediately is eliminated out of that and out of your cost structure and makes it cheaper for you. I think where the big saving comes into you is if you do not need to incur the brick and mortar rental cost of a retail outlet in an expensive floor plan structure, and that you can actually go offline and make those transactions cheaper. From a banking perspective, we always try and make our pricing as effective as possible, as cheap as possible for the service that we are rendering. So there are other costs that we obviously cannot do away with, such as the issuer's cost. We have to pay the card issuer for that particular transaction, for settling that transaction. We settle that transaction through our clearinghouse, and obviously we put a lot of infrastructure in place there. So we do try and make that cost as cost effective as possible. Yeah, so I can go into speak about pricing for a very long time, Sergio. But hopefully that does answer some of the questions.
Thank you for that, Malcolm. So Michael, I think, and anybody that has detailed questions, if we don't answer your question today, please feel free to reach out to the team. We have a team ready to answer any detailed questions, specifics on pricing, how does it work. Today was really just an executive summary. This is really a big area. But as we mentioned, Simba said it's as easy as ABC, so put us to the test on that. Marlon, the next question I'd like to hand over to you. Mark is asking, how does e-commerce protect against fraudulent transactions?
Thank you. So if I can just go into a little bit of detail around 3D Secure and what that means. By going 3D secure, you are helping yourself as a merchant from fraudulent card holders because there's an additional step. And that step requires the card holder to authenticate themselves through their app, their banking app, or through a one-time PIN that is sent to their mobile number that is linked to that card. That one step alone prevents over 98% of fraud in this online space. So that is a huge step, and that is a huge requirement. FNB does not allow any online transactions that are not 3D secured. The other thing that Simba mentioned is, of course, they have proactive fraud analytics and monitoring. So they do check for certain types of trends that are happening on your online platform. They will see if the same value is going through more than once. They will check if small values are going through more than once. They will check for very unusually high values. And so there's a whole lot of intelligence that happens behind the scene to prevent fraud and to protect you as the merchant.
Thank you for that, Marlon. Mark, I hope that helps address any concerns you might have. But again, willing to have some more discussions, just please do contact us. The next question is from Peter Swart, so I will hand this one over to Simba. Can this help my business with subscription payments?
Thank you very much, Peter, for the question. Yes, we allow for subscription payments to be collected through the DPO platform and through our banking relationships with our banking partners as well. You would need to get in touch with us, and we give to you what we require for that subscription business to be onboarded on our platform.
Thank you, Simba. Herman, a very interesting question I'd like you to take from us from Devin. He's asking, will this platform, e-commerce, allow for cryptocurrency?
Can I pass that question? Unfortunately, we do not have the regulator on this specific panel. As we stand today, cryptocurrencies are not acknowledged as an acceptable payments mechanism in Namibia. And unless regulation towards that or the regulator actually express themselves as to whether cryptocurrencies may be accepted, until that point in time, the unfortunate answer is no. At this point in time, it cannot be accepted.
Thank you for that, Herman. Malcolm, I promise I'm not doing this in any sequence. It's just how the questions are coming through. Malcolm, this question I'd like you to take. It's from Reginald Obakeng. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Reginald. How is the distribution or logistic challenges around e-commerce being addressed, knowing that the distances between towns are quite big? Do you have any insights for us on that?
Reginald, thanks for that question. As mentioned in Marlon's presentation, the distribution network in Namibia is well supported by organizations such as NamPost and smaller specialized delivery companies. Now, we've asked them to join in this conversation as well. They are online and not available for questions and answering, but there is an existing network that does do deliveries between towns and between even within town. Some of us in Windhoek might be familiar with these new e-bikes driving around and delivering. I think that is such an innovative business solution that somebody has come up with to say, how do I get quick, cheap deliveries of small units in the residential areas? Now, e-commerce is obviously dependent on a well-organized distribution network. So it is, as your business will grow, we also will anticipate that the distribution networks and the business opportunities, such as the e-bikes, hopefully will grow as well and create an entire new ecosystem in Namibia.
Thank you for that, Malcolm. Marlon, I'll hand this one to you. Annette is asking, how do I manage the accounting of e-commerce transactions?
Thank you. So we have an excellent portal for the merchant where you can go in and you will be able to, as part of the e-commerce solution, to see all your transactions that has happened on your website, and you will be able to see what you can expect and when into your banking account. So that comes standard. You will have a separate recon portal, and you will also get recon reports from the bank.
Thank you for that, Marlon. I'm glad to see questions are still coming in, which means you're still joining us for the session, so please stay tuned with us. The next question I would like to hand over to you, Simba. Ava Shitatala is asking, if you already have a web shop, do you still need integration into the platform, and how can that be facilitated?
Okay, thank you very much for the question, Eva. So what I would want to find out from you first is whether you're using any one of the established shopping carts for you to be able to sell your product. Because for us to be able to do any integration, like I mentioned in my presentation earlier, that we have integrations, plug-and-play solutions for platforms such as Shopify, your Magento, WooCommerce, Wix. If you are in those, then we will simply give you our plugin, and then you complete the integration. That's the first part. The second part is if you have your own bespoke development that you have done, we have an open API that we can give to you, and then you, with developer guidelines, with sandbox environment, if it's a complex integration that needs to be done, and we'll support you through the whole integration. So yes, we can do that.
Thank you, Simba. And I'll stay with you. I believe the next question would be best suited for you to answer. Edwin Swartz is asking, is DPO only available for Africa?
Thanks, Edwin. We are the largest Pan-African payment service provider. So it means that we are coming from Africa, and we are quite big in Africa. But in terms of our reach, we can onboard merchants and businesses from all over the world. But the question, I believe, should have been more on, in terms of the collection of payments and the processing of payments. We can process any Visa-branded card or a MasterCard from all over the world. So you shouldn't worry about the processing part of it. We can collect money and charge cards from all over the world as long as they are Visa or they are MasterCard.
So Edwin, I think the answer is that you have access to any customer around the world through this platform. The next question, Herman, for you, from Daryl Nicholson. He's asking, what are the minimum requirements that would enable me to qualify to apply for e-commerce with FNB?
Okay, thank you, Daryl. Obviously, you need to have a business registered in Namibia. That business need to be a legal business, not going to allow you selling all kinds of narcotics over the web. And then it's your normal customer onboarding process, as if though it is a normal onboarding for a transactional account, etc. Obviously, we would need to have a look at your website. There are certain criteria that you need to comply with, such as terms and conditions and the like. And depending on that component as well, but that sits more in DPO side in terms of the integration, etc. What's the securities around your web design? As I've mentioned earlier, card detail do have a black market value, and it is very important that we actually need to make sure that we do validate the security around your website as well as the payments components between DPO, bank, etc. So it's basically normal onboarding components. If you've opened business accounts before, more or less the same.
Thank you for that, Herman. I see there's another question for DPO here, Simba. Devet Boertes is asking, your platform supports a wide range of payment options, as you've mentioned, but is PayPal an option for my Namibian-based company to receive payments?
At the moment, PayPal, no. It's not an option for Namibia.
Okay, so not as yet.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Simba. I'm just looking at the next question. Marlon, I'd like to hand over to you for this one. Petrus S. is asking, how fast is a payment approval and getting my funds into my account?
The payment approval is pretty immediate. So what we do is the transaction is then authenticated. Once the cardholder has authenticated themselves, we send a message to the issuing bank. The issuing bank confirms that this was the cardholder, one, and two, that there's funds available. Once that is done, it is pretty much real time. You won't even notice it. It happens within a blink of an eye, and the transaction is approved. The settlement into your bank account will happen within 2 to 3 working days. In some cases, a little bit longer. Remember, there are a whole lot of fraud analytics that need to happen in the back end. And so we do monitor these transactions. So depending on how risky your business environment is or how risky these transactions could be, it may vary. The settlement time into your bank account may vary, which, standard is about 72 hours.
Thank you for that, Marlon. Malcolm, the next question I believe you might have already addressed, but I'll hand this over to you. Michael is asking, do I need to hire any additional equipment to use e-commerce?
Michael, I think equipment from the bank side, no. But obviously you do need to have a procurement system or a sales system that is linked to your website that you're selling to. You do need to have a distribution arm or the capability to distribute, or even if a bigger business, you need to have the capability to pick and to make that possible, available for distribution or collection. But definitely no, unless the product experts could tell me differently, there's no different equipment that you do need. If you don't have a computer, you would probably do need to buy some computer system. That's probably all.
Thanks, Malcolm. Malcolm, I'll stay with you for the next one. Johan is asking, do my business or my client, do we need to have a SWIFT or IBAN code to use e-commerce?
Okay, Johan, I think the name was.
Johan,
a SWIFT and an IBAN code is used for international transfer of money, pushing between each other. With e-commerce, definitely no. If you think of a normal card transaction at a point of sale, that accepts cards all over the world. There is never ever used an IBAN or SWIFT code is used in that transaction. So no, you do not need. It's a normal card transaction, but with the plastic not being present on the internet. And therefore you do not need a SWIFT or an IBAN code.
Thank you for that, Malcolm. The last question that we have today is from Michelle. Herman, I'd like you to take this. Michelle says, I offer special products over a certain period of the year and want to know how quick it is to set up an e-commerce account when I need to.
Okay, in terms of the setting up of the account, if you've gone through the initial onboarding, etc., end-to-end from your application to FMB, and depending at what stage you are with your web development, etc., that process, even with DPO, can be facilitated within a week. What I understand from the question is that you are possibly not online all the time. You've got specific periods in the year where you do transact. We do not need to reinvent the wheel in each of those occasions. It's possible to suspend that e-commerce capability and activate it at the times that you are online. Otherwise, it would be on 365 days 24 hours a day. So that's the beauty of e-commerce. You can be available at all times, and whoever is the purchaser, it's in their timeline what they want to purchase and when they want to purchase. You can be online all the time.
Thank you for that, Herman. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our webinar for today. We're very grateful that you've joined us. We hope that you got a lot of insights and information, and hopefully are as excited as I am about the potential for e-commerce for our businesses and our economy. Please do feel free to reach out. We have a team available to answer any additional questions that are ready to get you set up on your e-commerce journey. And with that, I'd like to conclude with a final thought, and just maybe, e-commerce is the game changer that your business has been looking for. We wish you a wonderful day, and thank you.